A little more calypso, forget the funk and the disco. A little more limbo, a little more shango. Kindly greasy pole, and we don't dance round the maypole. Raise it high up the ladder, let we set it on fire. A little more calypso, forget the funk and the disco. A little more limbo, a little more shango. Kindly greasy pole, and we don't dance round the maypole.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Oui Culture. It is Friday, actually the final Friday in the month of May. Yes, indeed, and I can tell you we have a great program lined up for you this evening. Now, for the past 2 weeks, we've been talking a bit about the education system, and we've had many requests for a very special lady to be on the program with us. And I'm happy to let you know that tonight she's with us, but I'm not going to introduce her yet. I have to wait for a little bit because I have to interfere with Scholar. And let me tell you all something. I don't know if you're looking at TV, but you notice Reese is looking a little shaky. Yeah, there's a reason for that. And just so you'd get to understand why she's a little shaky. But we're going to get to that. Doc is here. Finley? How are you going?
Ade, you see, balance yourself.
Yes, man.
Kind of shit.
Yeah, man.
Balance yourself.
She worried.
Good night to all our listeners and our viewers. Welcome. We're back again. Facebook, YouTube, television, radio, the works. As you would have correctly said, is the last Friday in May. Time has sped, and we are back again by popular demand, looking at the education system. I guess there's so much to talk about, and it's so vast. So here we are again for another 2 hours. And as you said, I can't wait to tap into the expertise and the memory and the institutional knowledge of this great Grenadian stalwart that we have with us tonight. So I'm excited and I'm looking forward.
Yes, indeed. Doc, what about you, boy?
Boy, I hear you giving Reese some chatty, but I find out you keeping me in the dark. I don't know what's going on.
Okay. Reese probably...
Good night to all the listeners, and especially to Miss.
No.
But Doc, so Doc, what? Doc, you want to stop that? Doc, that's my walk. You taking my walk, man.
That just like a children, like a children, you do like a something. And when mommy come, boy, you give him something, you say, don't tell. And as mommy come, himself.
Oh yes, indeed.
So I'm not supposed to say good night to all the listeners and good night to my colleagues, my co-hosts.
Yeah, you can say that, but you're supposed to call your name, I'm dear. Me not calling name, that's the work. That's the work. So folks,
I'm slow, Godfrey, I'm slow. So anyway, we are here tonight, and it promises to be a very interesting topic. We had just a few tidbit chat about it. Scholar and I, we had some exchange, and we recognized, boy, we would never be able to finish that program. If we continue, we'll never be able to finish. But hopefully, we're gonna cover some tonight, and we're gonna move on again to something else. But this evening promises to be very interesting. So
Indeed,
stay tuned
indeed.
and make your contribution as the time comes.
Oh yes. So folks, you know, as the people would say, you know, long time when you had to go on MC a little show and you had to invite a very special person, you had to do the thing nice. So how Paul Hawkins used to say again, it behooves me. But folks, you know what? I think that's an excellent idea. As a matter of fact, so what I'll do now, folks, I'll hand over to Reese, so she can do the honors. So Reese,
yes,
I think you should let it behoove Reese.
Yeah, Reese, it behooves you to do the honors.
Yes. First of all, I'd like to say good evening to our listeners. I see that a number of people have already tuned into Facebook, and I'm sure in Radio Land they're in their abundance. But yes, it gives me great honor, great pleasure, and for the first time in my life, to introduce someone I love dearly, the best principal in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. I don't care what nobody have to say. They can talk about Victor Ashby, they can talk about Brother George, they can talk about all who else. But when it comes to a principal who would have manned gentlemen and who would have womaned young ladies, no one else but the greatest Mrs. Glenda E. Mason Francis. Now let me hear you guys.
I mean, that is definitely. Yes, indeed.
It is a pleasure to be here. I've been following the program and listening to you all for the past couple of months. And I must say, it is a pleasure and an honor for me to be with you this evening.
Well, I'll tell you, the honor is ours to have you with us. You know, and everything Reese said, I think Reese is very, very much on point. You know, I've heard a lot about, you know, Mrs. Mason Francis, and, you know, and I can just imagine. So I'm really anticipating quite a lot this evening on the program. We started our discussion 2 weeks ago on the whole culture of education. Like everything else, education has its culture within the schools. And scholars said last week that every school has its own little culture, and it is so true. But over the years, there's been a lot of changes. We've seen things change, you know, and change is inevitable. We expect change. But with education, I think there is something special about it, and it is something that we have to pay very close attention to, because it can have serious impact on the young ones, adults as well. And so this is why we are spending so much time on the whole issue of education. Mrs. Mason, the first question this evening goes to you, of course, and like many others. And coming from some of the discussion we've had over the years, over the past 2 weeks, over the years, the school system was dominated a lot by males. We heard a lot about the headmaster. And as time went on, the headmistress, and then we moved away from that and it became the principal. And during those times, men seem to have been the predominant figure, the lead person in all of that. But over time, maybe without us realizing it, the women just, I don't know if they slipped through or they just stepped up and took their places, and now the women are actually in control of our school system. So Mrs. Mason, my question to you is, when did this happen and how did it happen?
I might say perhaps it happened as a fulfillment of what God intended, you know. Remember God's creation of Adam and Eve? Adam, and he took a rib and he made Eve, and they were both to work together, none to dominate and rule the next one, together side by side in his world.
Okay, very interesting. very interesting.
But we have this situation now where the women are dominated.
Yeah.
So it's not no side by side again. It's like
Okay, again, if I might say something. It did start off, yes, with men, principals, head teachers, men. And now you see where there are women. But right about now, I don't know if there are more women than men, you know. But the thing of it is, if I might speak about myself, when I started teaching at the Grenada Boys Secondary School, again, I might be making some history telling you this. I was the only female teacher at the school. And on the campus of how many men and how many students, how many male teachers and how many students, I was the only female person there, along with the people in the office, the bursar and the 2 secretaries. So there were 4 of us as women on that campus. And of course, well, I mean, sometimes I wonder, you know, how I was so daring when I went there to teach. But again, I can't complain because of the discipline, the respect and everything there. Having a woman on the campus, that seemed to have made such a difference to them. And I was really respected. I came into my own there. The teachers helped me along, the students. And in those days, remember, you had a Form 6. And you would have had students in Form 6, young men who were in their 20s. And I started teaching when I was about 25, straight from university and back and on GBSS compound. So I have to thank the people there for giving me that opportunity. Now, before me, there was Mrs. Ball. She was from England. You would have heard of Mrs. Ball. She taught mathematics in the school. And then she left. I think she went and opened the Westmoreland School along with someone else. So there was a woman there, but I was the first Grenadian female teacher at the Grenada Boys Secondary School. So that was quite a thing, you know. And again, the school, what we would say, they were so chauvinistic to have a woman there. It was quite a transformation. And then gradually, well, more women joined and came in, and that was how it was. Again, well, there at the school, at a certain time, we could say, well, it was with Val Francis. Val was the principal. And you could say I was his second in command, but of course you will never hear that officially. A woman can't be, you know, named as anything official in the school. I was unheard of. But we ruled the school together and so on. And then when I went over to the Anglican high school, for me, reluctantly, because I grew to love the male population and my boys and so on, I had to transform now to the girls. And well, I grew to love them as well. And one thing I have to say, though, is that I don't consider it like male dominance or female dominance. Because even at the high, what happened in those days, like the male schools had male teachers mainly. And again, at the high school, it was mainly female teachers, women teaching women, you know, and men teaching men and that sort of thing. Till again, well, when it started with women coming into GBSS and males going into Anglican high school and so on. Remember too, the GBSS was the first and only secondary school controlled by the government. It was almost like another department of the public service, GBSS. Everything there was like how the public servants, how you were paid. Then we had that, when I started teaching, you had like long leave at the end of every 3 years. Teachers got that, and you could go on vacation or study or whatever you wanted to do. So it was a part of the whole establishment, public service. And then afterwards, when the government in the 80s or so, when they took over all the secondary schools, that changed up, you know. So that was the changes and the transformation.
But you know, Mrs. Francis, you said something that at the time when you taught at GBSS, you were the only female teacher. And I want to bring in Scholar and the others here. Scholar, you've taught for many years. And I'm almost certain that there are schools in Grenada now where you probably don't have any male teachers, or maybe 1 or 2. and the rest is predominantly female. A complete turnaround to, compared to Mrs. Francis' time at GBSS.
I could jump in here because that's a fact. I know, for instance, Chantimel RC School, for example, there was one male for donkey's years, and I still think there is one male. The male different now, but it's the same one male. So one male gone,
next day
one male come, and it's still that one male. So this school and them, it's like they going by what the Bible say. You know, the Bible say, blessed are thou amongst women. So you have one man there, so he's blessed.
He blessed. That's right.
One man holding it. Blessed are thou amongst women. And what you'll find now, predominantly, because you could understand what Miss Francis is speaking of when she speaks of GBSS having predominantly males. We could understand that. And Anglican High School having predominantly females. Females teaching females, males teaching males. But now we have all of these co-educational institutions, but they predominantly they're females from the top right down. So right now you have much more female principals than you have males, and that's a fact. Be it at the secondary level, be it at the primary level, you have a lot of females who are now in charge of schools, right? And then, of course, you have much more teachers who are females. Now, I guess one might point and say, well, this kind of is a microcosm really of the Grenadian society as a whole, because you have much more females in Grenada anyway. And that might be a fact. But it is not just the fact that you have a lot of females and things can change. But could this have had, or could this be having, as Livingston would have been alluding to, I think last week, could this be having some kind of effect on the education of students? Because we're seeing that certain students may go through the whole of the school life, especially in primary school, never ever been taught by a male. What is the effect of this, especially for boys, you see? And so there are all of those questions and so on that are floating there. And people tend to believe that maybe this is probably because of a lot of issues I want to be very politically correct. Issues in the education system, because remember we have two ladies here, and Ms. Francis started to talk about the ribs and so on already. So you have to be very careful with this ribs thing and so on. So, but those are questions that have been floating out there, guys.
But could I say something?
Right.
Sure.
Okay, you talk now that you have the school dominated by women. Now let's go back again to the past, where this whole education system was dominated by men. And if you look, for instance, there are a few schools, even up to now, especially the primary level, that are called after the people who taught them. Like growing up, I remember up here in St. Paul's Government School, you spoke about Allet School, you talk about Morris School, Fletcher School, all these things in St. George's. They were male-dominated then, and then the principals, the teachers, the head teachers of the schools were named after them. They just got their names. And I'm not sure about what happened out of St. George's. I could just talk about the St. George's situation. So now we have gone the reverse now, where you have the woman dominating the schools and being in charge and so on. But again, I always maintained that teaching was one of the ideal jobs for women, in the sense that as a teacher, it gave you time to take care of your children, your family, and the students who are put under your care. And that had to do with, like, when it's vacation time, you had time there to be with your children, to manage your home, to manage them, to be with them on holiday, take them away, stay with them, and, teach them. Because, again, we have to remember the society in which we live is the female-dominated one, in the sense that seems in a lot of homes is a woman must take care of the children and train them and bring them up, whereas it should be both, mother and father doing that. And parents are supposed to be the first teachers of their children, especially when it comes to discipline and that sort of thing. The teachers in the schools build on what was done at home.
Okay, wonderful.
This is how it should be.
Okay, so let's take our first commercial break. When we come back, we're going to bring in Doc and Reese on some issues that we have here. So stay with us, folks. We'll be back with you in just a moment.
Raise it high up the ladder. Let we set it on fire. A little more calypso. Forget the funk and the disco. A little more limbo, a little more Shango. Find the greasy pole, and we don't dance round the maypole.
Hubbard's big promotion is back. Live free for 1 year. Spend $50 or more in any Hubbard's department and receive a chance to win big prizes every month. Property or vehicle insurance for 1 year. Free internet, cable and data for 1 year. Free fuel for 1 year. Free cooking gas for 1 year. Free electricity for 1 year. Free drinks for 1 year. Extra cash account and the big free groceries for 1 year. Promotion runs from April 1st to September 30th, 2021. Live free for 1 year with Hubbard's in association with Solgas, Flow, Grenadian General Insurance, Carib Brewery, Coca-Cola, Grenada Bottling Company, Grenlec, Communal Cooperative Credit Union, Dutch Lady Milk, Promo, Danny and Supreme. Terms and conditions apply.
We support you at every stage of your life.
For business,
for your education,
for your financial freedom,
for that new ride.
Upgrade your life with the Communal. Contact us today.
Level of convenience and comfort awaits you when you shop at Rise and Shine Supermarket and Hardware Supplies, Griffin Lane, Grenville. Convenient, because we are open from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Sunday to Sunday. We're even at your service on public holidays. Comfort, because we are easily accessible to the physically challenged. Free Wi-Fi is available while you shop, and bags come at no charge. Everyday low prices and excellent customer care. Adequate parking available. We supply everything you can possibly think of. Family and home supplies, fresh meat, vegetables, and personal care products. All brands of cooking gas at affordable prices. Plumbing fixtures, cutting and grinding discs, PVC glue, drywall screws, and power saw blades. You can send in your order, have it pulled, or pick up express.
Get high making money moves with the NLA's new Aces High Scratch game with 4 chances to win. Beat the dealer's card to win the prize shown. Reveal an A symbol. And just like that, you are automatically a winner. Scratch away to win the top prize of $10,000. Win easy with Scratch. Must be 18 or older to play.
Good evening, viewers and listeners. Welcome to the National Lotteries Authority's Daily Pick 3 Evening Draw for today, Friday, May 28th, 2021. I am Anisha Charles. With me this evening is Ms. Priscilla Barry from PKF Accountants and Business Advisors, whose purpose is to ensure that this draw is conducted in an accountable manner and the game balls with industry standards and no waste tampered with. This time, your tickets ready. It's Daily Pick 3. It pays to play. Good luck. First up for this evening is check your tickets in the meantime. First number is 1, second number. Second number is 9, third and final number. Final number is 8. Okay, let's recap those numbers. Numbers on the screen. First number is 1, the second 9, third and final is 8. So that's 1, 9, and 8. Congratulations, all winners. Stay tuned, get your daily cash flow drop next. We'll see you soon.
Tick, tock, toe. I win.
Feel like a big kid again when you play NLA's new scratch game, Tic-Tac-Toe. It's instant cash on the go. Reveal 3 X's or 3 O's in the same row, column, or diagonally, and win the prizes shown, or as much as $5,000. Win easy with Scratch. Must be 18 or older to play. Tic-Tac-Toe, please.
Give me a tic-tac-toe, please.
Tic-Tac-Toe, please.
Welcome back, everyone, to another Daily Cash for Evening Draw for today, Friday, May 28th, 2021. I am Anisha Charles. With me again is Ms. Priscilla Barry from PKF Accountants and Business Advisors, whose purpose is to ensure that this show is conducted in an accountable manner and the game balls with industry standards and no waste tampered with. At this time, you should tickets at hand. It's Daily Cash for more plays, bigger prizes. Let's find out what this evening's winning numbers will be. Good luck. First number this evening is check your tickets in the meantime. First number is 8, second number is 2, third number up. Third number is 0, fourth and final number. Final number is 5. Let's recap those numbers. Numbers on the screen. First number is 8, the second 2, third 0, fourth and final is 5. So that's 8, 2, 0, and 5. Congratulations, all winners. Stay tuned, get to play with you up next. We'll see you soon.
With the NLA's Daily Cash 4. Every day with more plays and bigger prizes to be won. It's a 4-digit game with all the bet types you already know and much, much more. From 0000 to 9999. Choose your 4 numbers and place your bet from 11 different bet types. Choose from inline, 4 different mixes, first 3, last 3, and 4 different backup options too. Best of all, it starts at just $1, except for backups, which starts at $2. Win as much as $5,000 with a $1 inline bet and as much as $6,200 in a $2 backup bet. Imagine $50,000 for a winning $10 inline bet. There's definitely more to win with the Daily Cash 4. More plays, bigger prizes, twice per day, Mondays to Saturdays. Must be 18 and over to participate. NLA, making your dreams come true while supporting sports, culture, and nation building.
Welcome back, everyone, to another Playway Evening Draw for today, Friday, May 28th, 2021. I am Anisha Charles. With me again is Ms. Priscilla Barry from PKF Accountants and Business Advisors, whose purpose is to ensure that this show is conducted in an accountable manner and the game balls with industry standards and in no ways tampered with. Let's play Playway, value your dreams, win your way. Good luck. This evening's winning Playway numbers, check your tickets. Winning player number is 19. Let's recap the number 1919. 19 represents dream symbol blood. Congratulations, all the winners of this evening's player draw. Tune in later on for the lotto draw. This evening we're playing for a jackpot of $56,000. We'll see you then.
I'm a winner. You are winner. We are winners. Winners.
It's the big one.
21, Grenada. Imagine winning $25,000 and up to 6 times by scratching just one lotto ticket. Get your triple cash scratch tickets for a chance to live your best life. Win easy with Scratch. For just $3, match any of your numbers to any of the winning numbers and win the prize shown for that number. Reveal a money back symbol and win the prize instantly. Triple cash scratch in stores now. Must be 18 or older to play.
Cause I'm a winner. From the moment that I get up, I'm feeling right.
Raise it high up the ladder. Let we set it on fire. A little more calypso. Forget the funk and the disco.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Oui Culture. In case you joined us a little late, our special guest this evening, former principal Mrs. Glenda Mason Francis, and we continue to look at the change in the education system. Just before we get back into the conversation, let me just take 2 comments on the WhatsApp platform, and then we'll ask Reese to see what's on Facebook, and then we'll get back into our conversation. So someone is saying, good evening to you, Miss Mason Francis. You were my sister's principal at the Anglican High School, and Miss Batiste was my principal, but still getting to know who you are. But big up to Anglican High School, best school ever. Okay, someone says, good night, Godfrey. Anglican High School is the world. Anglican High School is the best in the world. Mrs. Mason Francis was the best. One day I got a call. My daughter left home well dressed. When she reached by the roundabout in Tantine, her socks was right down to her ankle. Mrs. Mason called her by name and said, fix yourself before you reach in the school. She did not tell her what to fix, but by the time she got to the school, she was properly cladded. That was the kind of care for children, and also she was well respected by all. There is much more, Mrs. Mason Francis. My daughter did well by your teaching. Well done. Reese, Facebook?
Yes. Let me get to this. We had a number of people saying good night. Zavid Sears, congratulations, Reese, good night, We Culture, give you these chairs. Hannah Plenty, she wanted me to know that, she said, Reese, let me inform you, if you don't know, Mrs. Mason Francis was a first teacher at the GBSS, and the Anglican High wanted a principal, and we gave her over with a heavy heart. Jose is saying, good night, ladies and gentlemen, watching you live on the number 3 train in New York City subway on a rainy and cold night. Hannah is also saying, yes, in my days, she was a vice principal at the GBSS. And also, Reese, you hear how she rating us up. So I think this whole chat here is about how proud everyone is about Mrs. Mason Francis and how happy they are to have been under her direction. Zavid is saying the males are not going into the teaching profession as before. That is one of the reasons for why we have more female teachers in the education system. Let's see. Jose is saying, Mrs. Mason, he hope that you know that it's past your bedtime. I don't know where he get that from, but anyways, leave him. Let him stay. He don't know better. You don't know you're Grenadian. Jose is also saying, thanks. Good to know still. Godfrey, this is for you. Jose wants to know when he's getting his T-shirts, right? And I hope Miss Mason Francis is not biting for late tonight because she already passed away. Oh, Lord. Anyways, so that's it for Facebook for now.
All right, wonderful. You know, Doc, I hear a lot of people talking about, Anglican High School was the best school. Clearly, they didn't go to SAS. So, I mean,
I think even Miss Mrs. Francis would recognize that Cressy was the best.
Well, of course. But anyway, let's
interject here. SAS is considered the sister school of the Anglican high school. They're both
So we
Anglican
accept that.
schools, so we don't need to have this war here.
Right. So,
According to the Prime Minister, don't go there.
Well,
we
no,
have to go there.
Listen,
our sister school,
I don't think there is a war. I mean, Mrs. Francis made it clear very early. In the beginning, a rib was taken away and formed the woman. So they took a rib from SAS and they formed Anglican High School. I mean, but Doc, let me come to you. We've seen that change over the years, from a lot of males to a lot of females, and now someone said in the chat that less males are going into the profession. Could that be as a result? Because I'm getting the feeling that there could be an issue here in terms of the choice of work, and the choice of work could be determined in some ways based on the type of education you attained. So my question to you, Doc, do you think that there is a change in the whole curriculum, school curriculum, and probably that could be one of the reasons why we're seeing that predominantly female, dominance in our schools?
Well, I would answer your question, but I was citing roundabout way. The first thing, example like Tivoli School, and I think last week I mentioned that there were like 9 teachers that came to mind, 9 male teachers out of a population of like, I think it was 17 at the time. Today, there are 20 teachers and there are 4 males. Bel Air, that information was like 6 months ago, there were like 3 male teachers. There are other schools that have only 2 male teachers, as Carla mentioned, 1. But I believe that the education system must reflect the morals, the values, etc. of society. And not only that, it must reflect, things that are existing in our society generally. So in schools, example, we must deal with what is happening. Are we an agriculture society? Are we an industrial society? Society comprised of male and female. So I think the education system must have an outlook that recognize that there is a strong role for both male and female. You don't have to be equal. But I believe that the fact that you have 16-2 or 18-3, I believe that imbalance must affect particularly the young boys going through the school system. Because education is about hearing the voices, seeing the mannerism of men. Our young girls must be able to interact with male teachers. Our young boys must be able to also interact with male teachers. I remember one time I went in a school and to do something in a primary school, and the child wanted to address me and say, "Good morning, miss." And I believe that child has had an experience, he had never had an experience where they had a male teacher. So some students go through school from what we call the ABC, up to a large part in secondary, and they have never had any interaction with a male teacher. And I do not believe that augurs well with society, because we are here. There are male persons in society. Our young girls must interact with males at an early stage. Some of them do not have that pleasure in the home. So they must get it, and they must get it in that kind of setting as a school, because, Ms. Mason mentioned, the parents should be the first teachers, but then not all homes afford that. Then we must have a second certain level whereby they are accorded that sort of exposure. So to cut it short, I'm saying that the education, the people within the education must recognize that there is a need for more male presence in the education system. For a matter of fact, I don't believe that there is one area education officer that is a male at the present. I don't know if Scholar has information, but at one time there was none.
There's none.
None.
Right. So, and at the top, so from the time you leave primary school going up, you recognize that less and less you're seeing male present. And I do not believe, Godfrey, that is the society we want to. Nothing is wrong with a domination of one gender over the other, but I also believe it affects a large part, and I said last week, even the discipline level, but even the roundedness in terms of understanding the sexes.
But right, and I understand all that, but I wanted to get, and let me come to Reese. Reese is a more recent generation in terms of what is happening here. But I'm trying to understand. What is it, or could we, if we could put our hands on one of the reasons why this thing has changed so much? That moving away from male to female dominance in schools.
Well, Godfrey, I think one of the viewers would have alluded to that. Men are not entering into that profession anymore. I mean, your choice of career is personal. And if we don't have the ministry mandating, and even with mandating, it's going to be tough, because I know that, okay, like for St. Louis, the Catholic school, Mother Rose, I remember about a year ago, I remember hearing a conversation like, okay, there's 2 male teachers and one has to be in the lower junior and one must be in the upper junior. So you see what is happening here. You have less males going into the profession, and that is causing all that we are talking about here today. But how can we fix that? How can we fix that? And maybe that is a reflection of the parenting too. Because maybe we are telling our children too much about becoming engineers and doctors and lawyers and hardly ever teachers. Right. Maybe that is what the females are hearing.
You know,
because how is it that we have it now?
Godfrey.
I thought, hold on, Doc. I thought just hit me, and I want to come back to Scholar before I go to Mrs. Mason, Francis. Scholar, at that level, we're seeing it. I am wondering if you move further on the education ladder, at the adult level, adult education, university level, would it be correct to say that we have more male dominant teaching there? In other words, do we have more males teaching at the university levels than female?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know, and basically it's because you have university levels all over the place. So we only have one university here, and we are looking at a greater structure. I mean, if you talk about universities in America, England.
What about TAMCC? So let's drop down. What about TAMCC at that level?
I don't know, but I think TAMCC has quite a bit of males.
Right.
There are a bit of males there. So I don't know really that there is skewed. And even in some schools, there is not that skewed. You know? For example, SAS has about 50-50 right down the middle.
Okay.
Maybe that's why Godfrey and them said SAS is the best school. I mean, SAS is down the middle.
Yeah, but even SAS, the dominant figure is a female.
The dominant figure is a female, and that's the whole thing. The dominant figure now in the edu, because when you think about TAMCC, for example, you have Dr. Britt, who is a male. And you have a lot of males at the higher echelons of the college. But in our construct in education, in secondary and primary, most of the higher positions are females.
No, it's correct.
Sometimes principal is female, vice principal is female. All, as Livingston said, all education officers right now are females.
Yeah.
Every single one, bar none.
No, as you mentioned SAS, and my mind just went back. If I'm not mistaken, the last three principals were female. I don't remember her name, but after that lady, we had Miss Moses. Now we have Mrs. Jeffrey. Yeah, Miss Lyle, right? Yes. Then Miss Moses. Now Mrs. Jeffrey. So I mean, you would think maybe a male may slip through, but that is not the case at all.
But Godfrey, it even gets more interesting because when you look, for example, at the ministry level, right? The CEO is a female, the Chief Education Officer. Then you have 3 deputy CEOs. All of them are females. There is not a male. Then you have the officers who are called the curriculum people. Most of them are females again, right? You have a 1 or 2 little male in between there, but the majority of them are females. And then, of course, the minister, female there.
And then if you have one little male in the mix, they move you. Anyway, let's move on.
Actually, and Godfrey, that actually happened.
But of course it happened. One little male, one little small male, and you're out.
I got it, a little golly male.
So, Mrs. Mason, I'm going back to you now. In terms of...
Godfrey, I just wanted to ask Ms. Mason, maybe to confirm. I believe that the first secondary school in Grenada was the convent. Is it that? I think it's the St. Joseph Convent. The first secondary school in Grenada was not a male school, eh? So maybe we should bear that in mind going forward. I don't know if Ms. Mason is aware.
No, the first secondary school in Grenada, it was a Grenada Boys Secondary School, GBSS.
That's right.
Yeah.
1885.
Yeah.
When we were looking at Intercol and we were looking at schools, it was stated that the first, secondary schools was the St. Joseph Convent. But stand corrected on that. We could leave that lie.
But wasn't GBSS referred to at one point as the grammar school?
As the grammar school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, Mrs. Mason Francis, the school curriculum, and we know it has changed over the years, because if you compare, let's say, some of the books, the syllabus that was used then, and you look at what we have now, it is a complete different thing. The change in the curriculum, do you think with what is available now, it is doing a good job of preparing the young people for the working world?
That requires a lot of thought. I think we have a problem, well, in Grenada and in the West Indies and the islands, in that we have sort of, we started off following and using the British system. The British system, we all under British rule and so on and things. It was the British system, education and everything like that. And somewhere along the line, can't tell you exactly when, we are now right now torn between British and American. British and American. And I think the American system is right about now having more influence on us in the islands, and especially when I could speak for Grenada, than the British. You find British is outmoded and they're going out and everything is the American way. And as such, we here in Grenada too are torn between two worlds. Because it is evidence now in the way we speak, in our English, in our spelling, and things like that. When you use the British system, sometimes to spell things like American will put it wrong because it's different. So we are torn between these two things, and as such, our education, the books we use, everything now is different. And if I might say, for instance, taking English language being taught as English language, it's a lot. There are many changes how it's being taught now. And so when I went to school and learned English, and even when you went to school and learned English, how it's done. So it's difficult for us to really say. Sometimes we're still trying to find our own. Where are we? Who are we? Are we American? Are we British? Are we West Indian? What? And as such, the whole system is, and our children right now are even torn between those two worlds. Which one do they follow? Do they follow the British? Do they follow the American? Going away now to study, whereas before most people went to England. Now it's the opposite. Most people go to America. In between you went Canada, but now it's America. So I don't know. Sometimes I myself, I don't have the answers, to be honest. But one thing I want to say, going back to what we were speaking about, the lack of the male presence in schools as teachers, that is a very serious affair, because you have, as you said, both boys and girls growing up without a male image, a father image. And the male teacher is the one who sort of fill that role. And if that male teacher is lacking and there's so few of them, what is going to happen? So that is something for serious concern. And I really don't know if it is that the ministry could legislate to get more men involved in teaching. I don't know how that could be done. Because again, I think it goes back to the influence of young boys growing up and where the parents might influence them to go to study, to do what, and to the macho man and this and that sort of thing. I don't know, somewhere along the line you got the impression, men don't teach, that's for women, sort of thing. And that is what we're suffering from now. And that's how we will redeem ourselves and get the men again back to play such an important role. I don't know.
Okay, wonderful. So let's take our final break. When we come back, I want us to talk a bit about some of the different examinations that we do, what we did and what we are doing. So we take a break, we come right back. Stay with us, folks.
Raise it high up the ladder, let we set it on fire. A little more calypso, forget the funk and the disco. A little more limbo, a little more shango. Find the greasy pole, and we don't dance from the maple.
Tick, tock, toe, I win.
Feel like a big kid again when you play NLA's new scratch game, Tic-Tac-Toe. It's instant cash on the go. Reveal 3 X's or 3 O's in the same row, column or diagonally, and win the prizes shown, or as much as $5,000. Win easy with Scratch. Must be 18 or older to play. Tic-Tac-Toe, please.
Give me a tic-tac-toe, please.
Tic-tac-toe, please.
A pleasant evening to everyone. Welcome to the National Lotteries Authority's Lotto Draw number 3217 for today, Friday, May 28th, 2021. I am Anisha Charles. With me this evening is Ms. Priscilla Barry from PKF Accountants and Business Advisors, whose purpose is to ensure that this show is conducted in an accountable manner and the game balls with industry standards and in a way tampered with. This time, you should tickets at hand because we are about to play for a jackpot of $56,000. But first, your free ticket letter. Good luck. This evening's free ticket letter is check your tickets. Your free ticket letter for this evening is a J, as in jackpot. Let's proceed for 5 winning numbers. Good luck.
First up for this evening is check your tickets in the meantime. First number up is 22. Second number is 32, followed by 14. Fourth number up, 9. Fifth and final number is 30. Let's recap those numbers. Check your tickets. First number up is 22. The second, 32, followed by 14. Fourth, 9. Fifth and final is 30. So that's 22, 22, 32, 32, 14, 14, 099, and 30, 30. Your free ticket letter for this evening is J, as in jackpot. Congratulations to all the winners of this evening's Lotto Draw. Lotto, play and win a lot. And when you play all the games of the National Lotteries Authority, support sports, culture, and the nation building. Thanks for joining us. Have a wonderful evening.
I'm a winner. You a winner.
big one. Grenada, imagine winning $25,000 and up to 6 times by scratching just one lotto ticket. Get your triple cash scratch tickets for a chance to live your best life. Win easy with Scratch. For just $3, match any of your numbers to any of the winning numbers and win the prize shown for that number. Reveal a money bag symbol and win the prize instantly. Triple cash scratch in stores now. Must be 18 or older to play.
Cause I'm a winner. From the moment that I get up, I'm feeling right.
Hubbard's big promotion is back. Live free for 1 year. Spend $50 or more in any Hubbard's department and receive a chance to win big prizes every month. Property or vehicle insurance for 1 year. Free internet, cable and data for 1 year. Free fuel for 1 year. Free cooking gas for 1 year. Free electricity for 1 year. Free drinks for 1 year. Extra cash account and the big free groceries for 1 year. Promotion runs from April 1st to September 30th, 2021. Live free for 1 year with Hubbard's in association with Solgas, Flow, Grenadian General Insurance, Carib Brewery, Coca-Cola, Grenada Bottling Company, Grenlec, Communal Cooperative Credit Union, Dutch Lady Milk, Promo, Danny and Supreme. Terms and conditions apply.
How do you choose your toilet paper? Just because it's soft and nice. That's how I choose my toilet paper. Made right here in the Isle of Spice. Cherished springs of Harbor Bay. Super value every day. The price is right and locally they're made. Support local when you purchase Cherish and other quality brands from Grenada Paper Products.
We shall fight them on the beaches. We shall defend our islands and our oceans. To rid our waterways of plastic and other marine litter. We shall fight in the mountains, the valleys, on the coastline. We shall never surrender until every home on every street in our cities, towns and villages in the OECS learn to reuse, reduce and recycle plastic and prevent the pollution of our beloved ocean. We shall fight marine litter together with our sports clubs, our churches, the private sector, our schools. Join the fight. We shall never surrender.
This message is brought to you by the OECS Commission with funding from the Government of Norway. Remlit, tackling ocean pollution from turf to surf.
A message by the Grenada Distillers Limited.
You want a hand sanitizer to do 3 things: kill germs, be gentle, and to go where you go. You can get all of that in our hand sanitizer. Hard on germs, gentle on hands, affordable. Remember, hand sanitizers contain alcohol. Keep away from heat and flames and avoid contact with eyes. Available at retailers island-wide.
A message by the Grenada Distillers Limited.
Raise it high up the ladder. Let we set it on fire. A little more calypso, forget the funk and the disco. A little more limbo, a little more shango. Find the greasy pole, and we don't dance round the maple. Raise it high up the ladder. Let we set it on fire. A little more calypso, forget the funk and the disco. A little more limbo, a little more shango. Find the greasy pole, and we don't dance round the maple.
Welcome back to We Culture, folks. Receipt, before we get back in, any additional comments on our Facebook page? Receipt, you need to unmute for us?
Sorry about that. Yeah, so Judy Thomas is saying, Yes, this is why men must stay with the women when she has kids or children. Jose is saying, I think it's hard to believe that some students never have any interaction with male teachers. Well, that means that school don't take part in sports because most sports teachers are males. Juan is saying, I as a male teacher myself, I think the salary of teachers is too small for male to comply with. There are more high-paying jobs for less work as a teacher. Someone at GBN is saying Mrs. Mason Francis still has her unique voice and her high standard. I am tremendously grateful to you, Mrs. Mason Francis, for your great sacrifice in mentoring us. You are more than a teacher. Let's go again. Joseph Noel is saying that Convent St. George was the first secondary school and that he went to GBSS. Jennifer Chateau, I heard St. Joseph's Convent was first while GBSS was first government secondary. Jose again, Ms. Mason, what do you think differently with the education system to the days of the, what do you think is different with the education system compared to the days of the revolution education? That's a question for Mrs. Mason. Cynthia is saying, good night. Sorry I missed tonight. I went to pay my respects to a Grenadian in New York. May she rest in peace. Let's see again. Jennifer is saying, I believe most males are moving into IT, other technical fields, medicine, law, business, etc. And Jose, I believe that's the last two. Ms. Mason, you was a great principal, which some of your students up to today still call your name. Question, how do you compare the education system during the revolution to now? Do you think the education system is heading the right direction as you left it as a principal? And Hannah, right, so that's it. That's it for the Facebook comments for now.
All right. Let me just take a two on the WhatsApp platform. Someone says government must give incentives to men to join the teaching profession. They said the screening process may also be for men going into teaching a problem. Someone said, Godfrey, don't try that. Anglican High School is the best. Don't try it at all. Sasa is the Anglican High School brother, so don't try that, Godfrey. All right. Someone says St. Joseph's Convent 1872, GBSS 1885, whatever. Many males don't apply for teaching. Maybe it's the salary. So that's it for now. So I want to, Scholz, I want to come to you because I believe as a teacher, you may have experienced both worlds. Examinations. In our time, I remember we had the common entrance, so we used to say, well, you're going to do scholarship. Now we have the CPEA, and that's at the primary level. At the secondary level, we had the GCE, O levels. Now we have the CXE. And both Scholar and Mrs. Mason, the difference in the examination, do you think that they've maybe, how should I put it, directed our students in different paths? And maybe we could start, let's start with secondary and come down. GC, CXE.
Right. So, and you forget one important one, school living.
School, well, yeah, we're going to come to school living next.
Yeah.
School living, because you remember back in the day, when you have a school living, you're going to teach.
Yes.
School living, you're going to teach. I mean, so all around did you work then that you could afford to teach and teach well back in the day. And then you'll find that, and Miss Mason Francis kind of put she finger on it, that right now we ain't even know where we are, because at one point in time, when you look at all of those things that we had before, sort of we took them off of the British system. And so the British system was much more rigorous in terms of its high stakes exams. GCE, that's why we could not do thorough GCE subjects. I mean, when a man have 4 GCE subjects, he good to go. You let him go and he making wonders in the world. He's well prepared. No man having all kind of 20 something, them little Indian and them in Ghana. Yeah, that man doing all 25 subjects and so on. You can do 25 GCE. If you do 25 GCE, your body ending up below the ground. You just can't make it, right? So rigorous those things work. And then, of course, you now have this thing coming in where you have all of these projects and so on that you could do at home. Now, back in the day when you do a project or something, if you do a project for the school and whatnot. Now you're doing project, you're doing it at home. They don't even know who doing it for you, and that going towards your marks at the final mark, right? So in many ways, you find that we of that generation, we believe that a lot of these high stakes exams are kind of watered down kind of thing, more to suit students. I mean, you do CXC, and CXC comes with all kind of different standards all the time, trying to make the thing easier and easier as you go along. So they'll tell you by at one time you have to mark for English. So if children play the fool, the writing thing, let's say in science, but English all over the place, then CXC will tell you forget about the English, you know. English is important. What's important is what they have there and substance of what they have there. But you know, in GC, you can't make that. I mean,
not at all.
Once you English, you joke to make it, right? But we've seen this thing, and when you look at the whole curriculum and the curricular offered, especially from way primary school, Godfrey, I know, for example, that I have taught kids, yeah, and at the secondary level. Come to me at the secondary level, and these kids can't write them. Secondary school children. So you have to wonder what are the standards, really, and how did they get to be there? And what you find happening, remember when we went to school, we go through ABC and we standard 1 and standard 2 and so on. And we were drilled in arithmetic. That are not maths, arithmetic with us, this kind of thing, and grammar and reading. Those were the subjects.
Dictation, spelling. Those are subjects. Those are subjects in school.
And so on. Those were the subjects that we did. So when you had a platform, you had this thing that you could just launch off, because really and truly, when you think about education, I have never taught a child who can read well, and a child don't what we call done or thing. All children will read well bright. Yeah. It tells you that once you have that foundation, but no, the curriculum is all over the place. With all kind of things, little children with big bar of books in them, and what they have inside the book, they can't even read it because they were never drilled in this thing, and that's what we were drilled in. So by the time you come out from, let's say, standard 2, standard 3, you may reach in standard 4 or standard 5, and then they start to dabble in a little science or a little thing. Now children sensing ABC, they're doing full health science and all this kind of thing.
Foreign language.
Yes, and the real foundational work, the arithmetic and the grammar and thing, they're not there.
You know, Mrs. Francis, I listened to Scholar there. I recall in secondary school, I did GCE. For history, for example, I had to do 5 questions, but there were 5 essays I had to write. For geography, we had to study physical geography. We had to do map reading. We had to do Caribbean geography. And we still had to do North America. And you had to do your GCE exam based on all of that. In your science, biology, you had your written exam, and then you had to do your practicals. And if you ain't get it right, your business ain't bright. For English, you had to do comprehension. You had to write an essay, and then you still had to do or you call that one where you have to read a passage and answer the questions and all of that. They give, comprehension. Comprehension.
And then they give all the time they had dictation.
They had dictation. So, Mrs. Francis, you went through that system. You taught that system. I don't know if you got a little bit of the new thing nowadays, the CXC and so. But a little comparison. Make a little comparison for us.
Okay, going back to say like when I went to school, when we did SC Senior Cambridge, and then the HSC was the highest school, Senior Cambridge or some such school. We had to pass, if you did 7 subjects, 8 subjects, you had to pass your English language to pass the exam and get a certificate. You could have got 9 subjects and you didn't get English, you failed the exam. You have to do it over. Whereas now with the CXC and so on, you could do 2 subjects this year, you get your certificate, another 2 the next year, and you could do 5 years and that sort of thing. And again, the emphasis was on what you will call the long answers. You didn't have a multiple choice with paper 1 thing was essay type for the most part, where you had to write your, and that sort of thing. But to be quite honest, my last years of teaching and within recent times, I signed myself and said, thank you, Jesus, I'm out of that. Because it's sort of complicated. In the sense that, as you were saying, nowadays, from very young, the children are exposed to so many different things, so many different subjects. Foundations are not laid and emphasis placed on, as you were saying, the main things, the reading, the writing, the double-line exercise books to form your letters and that sort of thing and so on, the basics. And when you got up higher, some things were only done in the primary school, and when you got to secondary, you took it from there. But now you are exposed and it's a wide curriculum. I am totally against children doing 13 and 14 and 15 CXC subjects. Is not necessary. It's like an ego being satisfied, the child's ego, the parent's ego, the school's ego. But for the children, it's not necessary, these number of subjects, to do what you want to do afterwards. It's just a boast. I have so many subjects, my child got so many subjects in school. And that is sort of being encouraged. I am not in favor of all of that.
Okay.
I find now with the CPA, what they do from primary to secondary, I think the children have too many things to do. And I feel sorry for them. And a lot of children are not really enjoying their school days now. It's too much pressure. They're not enjoying their school days. In the primary level, then when they leave that and they go to secondary, is another something again, I don't know. As I say, I might be selfish. Thank you, Jesus, I'm out of it.
Doc,
let me just jump quick and say that this extends right through to even Teachers College. Teachers College now and Teachers College of the past. Two halves of a different color. I mean, when we went to Teachers College, even back in 2000 and a little bit, we were drilled in a few things. Education as a big thing. You had measurement and testing and whatnot. And then practice teaching was the main thing. Mm-hmm. So you practice teach about 3-4 times during this thing. No. And then you had a big exam that you studied for after the 2 years with everything that you did and so on. Now teachers and so on is project and what. So they come out from Teachers College not even knowing how to teach. Mm-hmm. Teachers College is really not fulfilling the role that it is supposed to be fulfilling. And this is something that the Ministry of Education has to look into. I mean, UE is failing us in that regard, because it's a UE thing, a UE exam, UE curriculum, and it's failing. And this is something I've been saying for the longest while. Teachers who go now to Teachers College, as Ms. Mason Francis is saying, they are enjoying Teachers College. It's just a headache, and it's hectic, and they have to be running behind all kind of assignment and all kind of. This is not what Teachers College is about.
Doing a degree.
In the rudiments of teaching.
So, Doc, do you think what is happening now is seriously preparing our young people to enter the working world?
Well, several things happen, and one of the most striking examples, and I can't help but bring it out. Now, I believe education should be preparing our citizens, apart from being enlightened, education should be preparing our citizens to take up the slack that maybe to follow, let us say, the government policy. So the government has a policy that we want to have some form of development. And let us go to one that is really striking, tourism. So for the last maybe 15 or so years, Grenada abandoned agriculture and they're going into tourism. And so we had 20 years of that. But for the last maybe 6 years, we were unable to produce through our education system somebody from Grenada that could head the Grenada Tourism Authority. The last 3 persons that held those positions were foreign persons. The last one, just a couple weeks ago, is not a Grenadian. So we have an education system, we have a development plan, but the education system is such, it is not designed with producing citizens to take up the slack for the development, even a development plan that, let us say, the country has. I know we are taught in they say a 30-year plan, or the blue plan or whatsoever. But our education system is not addressing nothing at all to train our persons. So we are finding that a lot of the persons now trained are almost dysfunctional. We have a series of persons now that are educated, has degree in a series of subject areas, being sent to places like St. George's University. And when they come back, they might get a teaching job. So you go and you do sociology or psychology or some kind of area and you get a degree. But we are not catering our teaching, our education system to service the Grenadian society.
Doc, hold that point, because I want to ask you something, because based on where you're going there. Let us you brought in a little politics, so to speak. Now at the policy level, all right, because our leaders are supposed to create policies, and then these policies should be executed so that the system runs smoothly.
Right.
Do you think we have a problem at the policy level? Meaning, some of the people who have been placed at the top in education, let's say, for example, our ministers of education over the years, I'm sure you can probably remember some of them. Now, one comes, I remember it was 1996. There was a calypsonian who sang a calypso about the education minister who couldn't read and won the crown, which means that the calypsonian was bang on target. I'm asking here is whether or not at the policy level, so could it be, one, that the policies are not sound, or two, the policies that are made are not properly executed?
I think the policies are not sound, because if you recognize some of the persons that have been made ministers of education, it's like, they have a space, so you say New Day. But I don't believe there's a lot of thought. There's a lot of thought process that go into. Let us see how we can get that person best suited to influence the process. I remember names like Carla Gleno. Maybe the last one that really ring out is Franca Bonadin. And I recall that example, that innovation with everybody getting the books. Now, that was a masterpiece. It made teaching, and you had persons like, we have 2 former teachers, although I taught for some years, but Godfrey, you taught for at least a year or two too?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. So that made teaching so easy, so much easier than before, because you had, at least the children had the tools in hand in order for the teachers to execute. Now we backtrack, or we could come forward and we look at some of the persons, and I don't want to zero in on anybody, but you recognize that some persons were just put there to hold a position, and they don't seem to have a coordinated approach towards the policy, the persons that are going to place in education in order to execute the policy or the wish of the government. So it's ad hoc and more ad hoc, and people do what they want at the whim every week, every time they change. Not just the Minister of Education, but the Ministers of Education change the policy.
And then you have, and then Reese, you have permanent secretaries acting the whole time. You can't seem to have somebody who is directly responsible. All they're doing is the actors. You have a young daughter and a young son who is involved, who did some CXCs. Your young daughter now is getting ready for secondary school, or is she in secondary school yet? Not yet. What's the experience like? I'm moving forward. She getting ready?
Scholar.
Oh, scholar, right? Yeah. But what's the experience like as a parent with a young child, experiencing this present system? Maybe something a little different from what you experienced.
Okay. You guys were talking earlier about how is it that policies seem to not be in sync, and I tend to agree with that. And that carries for any institution, whether it's your workplace, the school system, or anything. If you have, it's supposed to start from the top, and the policies from the top supposed to transcend into your plans, your future plans. If you intend to expand, then you have to look towards how is it that you are going to be upgrading your staff to meet the expansion, or who is it that you are going to, who are the professionals you are going to need. So you have to start looking at that. So if as you said, within the tourism sector, you would need these people and in more permanent roles and all of that, then you need to start maybe when there's the career days in the school and all of that, going into the schools and talking to the children about what is it that we would need in another 5 to 10 years. So, they know their options, because outside of that, what we know is go and be a doctor, lawyer, that kind of thing. So you find there's this whole glut on the market in certain professions, and in others, it is always a case where we have to import them. But in terms of the question that you ask about my son or daughter, I find that especially now during the pandemic, and I don't want to blame everything on the pandemic, but especially now, they are more being molded into passing exams. There's a lot of things that I would have experienced growing up, and all that you guys speak about in terms of the grammar and the reading and the dictation and all of that, those were the things that I was grilled in. Now you find, like, for example, my daughter, there's a lot of focus on language and math, a lot more than the others, because language and math is a big thing in CPEA. So she's being grilled to do well at CPE, and I don't have a choice but to, encourage her to do well as well. Same thing I think with my son. Again, he was one of the children who did CXCs during the pandemic year. So a lot of what they did, it was more focused on getting that achievement of a number of subjects, the passes, as opposed to, I'm sure he's not ready for the world of work. I'm quite sure of that. So there's a lot that has to be done from as early as that level, in terms of how is it that we can create more entrepreneurs, more people who are job specific, as opposed to just having a lot of CXCs at your name, at the side of your name. And from my experience, the people with the degrees, the masters, they cannot do the work. And in some cases, in a lot of cases, they cannot do the work as a person who doesn't have those accolades at the end of their name because they're not trainable. They come with an attitude that they have their subjects and they have their degrees. So they come to teach you. On their first chance, they would compare as to why is it that they should be making more money than you because they have this to their name. But you're the one who has the wealth of experience, the knowledge. You're the one who goes through the ropes, who would have had the passion, sit and think out this job, put policies and procedures in place that they can come and meet, let's say, a smooth flowing workplace, you know, and not having to go through the troubles that, you know, people of the past would have had to go through. And instead of having appreciation, they are more focused on they deserve that amount of money, you know, because they have that to their name, you know. So I don't believe that that in our education policy, and as far as from the government level, if they place as much focus on what is needed in the next 5 to 10 years to make sure that our people are trained so that we have that pool to dip from, as opposed to like you're looking for a job, you know who, I know you, I'll give you a blind, eventually you would learn it kind of thing.
Right.
No.
No, I before I move to the other question, I want to just quickly go by Scholar, and I want to hear your take on the issue of the policies and execution.
Godfrey, before I have to ask you about the callers because I realize
well, we're gonna come to the callers. Yeah, we're gonna come. We're gonna take the calls
tonight.
We're gonna take the calls.
That's one. And two, you may realize that I shelve in your question. And two, I want to say to Miss Mason Francis that tonight, on behalf of you, I feel very insulted because Godfrey and Livingston said that they taught. I mean, two of us as old teachers who taught for all these years, these two fellas say they taught. One will be Coran Road, the other will be Butterbread.
And yeah, and Scholar, they
Let me tell you. No, Livingston. Doc, I know why you vexing. It's not that he vexed about you know. He listened you talk and he listened me and he realized all that come to his head was sports and intercourse, so we gonna leave it there. That is what he vexed about.
Scholar, I agree with you. I would never call myself a teacher, even though I've taught also. When I am sitting around Mrs. Mason Francis and King Jeffrey Scott.
Of course you can do that. I feel insulted.
Okay. So we apologize. We want teachers. Anyway, back to you. I want to get your take on the whole issue of policies, because at one point before they move you were at that level.
The man say they want to talk now, Godfrey.
Yeah, he said that.
Godfrey, let me say this. When you think of the education system in terms of everything else, policies, whatever, is supposed to run seamlessly, because there are several different components to the whole thing. So, and you have different spheres of responsibilities, different stakeholders in the whole thing. So you have the society, you have the parents and so on, who are supposed to be there to nurture the students, make sure that they go to school, they take their education serious, you give them materials, they bring food and what have you. Then you have the government. And the government is where the policies and so on are supposed to be born. And on top of that, they must take care of infrastructure, give schools material, make sure teachers are trained, and what have you. And then, of course, you have the teachers, the principals, Ms. Mason Francis and them, myself, who will take care of the process. So we teach and we make sure that the instructional thing is good. However, the policies and what the ministry does in terms of the input into the system, it will affect what we do, right? Because they are the ones who put the policies in place and we go by them. So, and then of course you have the children and the children are supposed, that's the output really. We know if everything is working by what comes out. The children pass and they are able to as the Livingston is saying, they are able to fit into the society. And then of course you have the business community and government and so on, takes care of the outcome. They make sure that these children get something which is commensurate to the education that they took. Now, if we are speaking here, so think of all that I'm saying. And if we are speaking here of all of these issues, and God, Livingston is speaking of all of these issues in terms of the outcome, in terms of how children are not able to adapt and so on to the world of work and all that we see speaking of, then what we are indeed saying is that the policies are not working. That's what we say. Because everything streams from one from the other.
Right.
If the policies are sound, the outcomes and so on will also be sound. And so once one of those things are not working, of course you go back to the top to see, because that's where it starts from.
That's where the problem lies.
Where the whole school system gets its head from. So by this is how it is.
Right. So, Mr. Francis, I want to come back to you now. Maybe the final area we'll discuss before we go to a telephone line. Now, of course, with the education system, it's not a case where a teacher would just go into a class and just start to talk. Material is important. So, the material that was used then, and I want to make reference to books like the Royal Readers. We had things like the Student Companion. We had the Federal Readers, which followed the Royal Reader. We had the Junior English Revised and some of these books. That kind of material that was used then compared to what is used now. What's the difference in terms of the outcome? We're talking material now.
Right. When we go back now to, like, take for instance English language and teaching grammar and laying a lot of emphasis on the grammar, let's say. I don't think I remember when the change was made and it came from the UWI that you should not lay much emphasis on teaching grammar. The children, from the time people start to talk, they're talking and they're using verbs and nouns and so on and so forth. So there's no need to really spend a lot of time taking a noun and a verb and a this and that. And I must say I have lived to see we are suffering today from stopping the emphasis we place on teaching noun, verb, adverb, grammar, how you use it, and so on and so forth. Spelling, that's another thing again. Right now again, we're taught, as I said, I think before, American and British, which spelling we're using. Then even the art of reading. I remember the child growing up, sometimes a Friday afternoon, you put a stand around and you read, or you spelling, and you have to learn a set of words, and you ask one by one, and you go on this sort of thing. And I am saying something now, I have lived to see us suffering from not having been taught English grammar, perhaps in the proper way. That a lot of us now do not know the difference of our tenses and how we should use them. And something that is killing us in Grenada in particular, and a lot of us would have. How do we use and what does it mean when you say I would have done something also? Conditional past tense.
That's right.
Would have is not the past tense. I went to town yesterday. If you say I would have gone, or I slept last night, I would have slept. Would have slept mean you didn't sleep. But when you slept, you slept. So the difference, we have to learn all these things. Yeah. And I think right about now, somebody needs to take this in hand and give some lessons and instructions on what we call the conditional past and the simple past tense. And I will rest my case here.
So material is important, definitely.
Mrs. Mason Francis, let me just tell you that NALA is currently revising those things. Past participle, present continuous, the past tense, all these tenses. So maybe it's not happening in every school, but I am happy to hear you mentioning those things because that is what she's doing currently.
Okay, so we need to go to a telephone line. Let's take our first call for the evening. Oui Culture, good evening. Hello?
Hello.
Yes, good evening, caller.
Hello.
Okay, so we need to go to a telephone line. Let's take... Okay, our telephone number is 435-2041. So callers, you can be part of the conversation. Let's go back to a telephone. Oui Culture, good evening.
Good evening, citizen. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I am.
Hello?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Very well. Listen, I was going to give a longer talk, but something... Good evening, miss. God's richest blessings. Something miss just said a while ago there, which laid the crown on my suspicion all through the years. She spoke of some instructions coming from UE. But when I remember what the motto of UE is, pay attention, it's Latin, but I'll translate it, don't worry. It says, Oriens ex Occidente lux, ORIENS, EX, Occidente, OCCENTENTE, LUX is new. And that means, pay attention, a light coming or shining or rising from the west. Any light that comes from the west has to be deceptive. That is why the Caribbean is as it is today. Thanks for defining that to be missed. It only fulfilled my suspicion of the years. Have a nice evening, all of you.
Thank you very much, citizen. Thank you very much indeed. 435-2041, that's the number you can call, and you can, of course, make your contribution to the program. In the meantime, we see anything. Well, let's take that call now. Oui Culture, good evening.
Good night.
Yes, good evening, caller.
Good night. Yes, Godfrey and your facilitators and guests. That's a very wonderful discussion. But I need to see the primary aim of education is the transmission of culture to succeeding generation. And there are two types of education. In Latin, you say to educate, educare, or educare. And one really means the socialization for effective citizenship. The other means training for effective earning of a livelihood. And I can tell you the problem with so many females in the teaching service. There are lots of females in the teaching service, especially at lower school levels, but male dominance. We are a society which I would describe as matrifocal. Everything with regards to housekeeping and looking after this and that, looking after that, is on the woman. But patriarchal. When the high position comes, it goes to the male. And teaching isn't seen so much to be very attractive or prestigious in these days. Men seem to move towards construction, transportation, sports, games, and other high and prestigious professions. As a matter of fact, the education system is supposed to influence the culture of the society. In that, it should identify the needs of the society and equip students for meeting those needs when they graduate. But students graduate nowadays not knowing the front from the back. As a matter of fact, talking about English, there's an aspect of English that you all didn't take in tonight, paraphrasing and praising. That was part of the examination. You have to give them a passage. You have to expand on the meaning. Or give them a big passage. You have to reduce it in a number of words, still retaining the content of the meaning. And of course, if I were to ask an ordinary student that graduate, how many present tenses can you identify in the English language? They might not be able to tell me, well, you have the simple present, the present perfect, and the present continuous, and distinguish between them. This is the problem we have in society. And as a matter of fact, we have to understand too that the politics of modern day society interferes very negatively with the quality of persons selected for teaching and promoted in the teaching service. And that is very negative. I can say a lot more, but let me give others a chance. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much indeed. Thanks a lot. 435-2041, and that's the number you can call. Let's go back to a telephone. We Culture, good evening.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, good evening, caller.
Yeah, well, based on you saying that there are a lot of ladies teaching and didn't have male, what has happened in this Grenada? All the male, remember, they're dropping out of school, weighing the pants below the bottom, and destroying, trying to destroy the ladies who suck in salt and try to make it. Eventually, what has happened? The ladies come out educated, and the males stay on the block. They harass people and do the worst thing to go in jail because they are very blatant. You understand? That's why the female come in and dominate. In the next 20 years, what will happen? Female will take over the world, and I wish them all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you. Thank you very much. Anybody want to comment on that? Caller, see you nodding.
I laughing at that. I mean, you know, cricket that is singing a song too.
Where the young men gone?
You know what you mean?
Yes, yes, indeed. Let's go back to the telephone. We Culture, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes.
Trying to get to the program.
Yes, good evening. Go ahead, please.
Good evening.
Yes, can you listen to us on your telephone? Turn the volume of your radio down and listen to us on your telephone, please.
Good evening, Brother Godfrey.
Yes, good evening. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I'm listening to your program and it's very interesting. The part of male having not to be in the teaching profession. When you look at what has been happening over the years, we had good male teachers and they were able to bring up strong young men. Godfrey, you for example, scholar, Livingston, the teachers who taught you, they had examples in their life and they were able to influence you to a certain level. When this generation has moved and the politics came in mainly into teaching, the politics is only involving the people that they see that could help build the present and maybe the past party politics. Our men in society need to take up the role, but the older men also need to show them example. One caller talked about the dropouts. When our young men are pressured in school, they will drop out because they have not given most of the time a fair chance. Now, it's not everybody that will be academically inclined. There are people that are hands-on. So you need to identify our young men, what they are good of, what they are capable of, and push them into that line so that they can be educated in that area, come out being a good student, and also pass on what they have as a skill, and even with the theoretical education. Thanks for our ladies. They are moving on because they feel they have to fill the gaps, but they still cannot influence the both sexes, male and female. They are trying, but our government should put back policies in place that where our male figures can get back into the teaching profession and to have a good, strong society. All right? Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you very much indeed. Let's see if we can get one final call, 435-2041. Let's go back to a telephone. We Culture, good evening.
Yes, good evening. Good evening.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay. I'm just saying that I was touched by Mrs. Mason's comment of when she raised the confusion that exists now with us trying to figure out who we are as a people, okay? Because I would like to find out if the English in the tablets that we're using have been standardized. Because if you're teaching your children spelling and you teach them C-O-L-O-U-R is color, and then on the tablet it will say C-O-L-O-R, therein lies confusion, and that's just one little example. Another one is the words that we accept again, new words coming into our everyday language now. So we do not accept kids, but we accept guys. We turn the word injection into jab. So, therein lies the confusion. But I'm saying the greatest concern is the confusion in the school. We must begin to standardize for children, because you can't have children going to school in an area of confusion. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much indeed. Some very interesting comments. Any comments on some of the calls we've had so far, Mrs. Mason? Francis, yes?
Not really, there's so much that can be said, but at this point in time, I like other people to talk and give their views on what's happening.
Scott, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think one or two callers made some very important points there. One of them that spoke of not everybody is academically inclined.
Yes, indeed.
This is a real fundamental point.
Very important.
Our education system doesn't and has not for a long time catered for. I mean, we spoke last week of the movement of the when people used to go to the centers and so on, and this was really a backward push move. Mm-hmm. Because you had people who are not academically inclined from Sensitive Primary School who go to the centers, and they are builders and they are joiners and they are nothing now, right? And those are the things that we lack. And there's a state, if you go to geography on its ability to climb a tree, then the fish will always feel stupid. Mm-hmm. Because fish should never climb a tree. And this is one of the things that we have. And so in that way, I think the education system has to do more to cater for this. They spoke about the confusion also of the English and whatnot. But there is even more confusion that is now created by social media. So now you find children now writing out English, the test page, and they write now kind of shot and write the word to write English again. So sometimes let us see messages coming to me, I don't know what they are. A man just write something for me today and tell me something about some DF, something. I don't know what that is.
You have to Google.
Google is only shorthand now, people writing, I mean, so all of this is coming as the caller said, and it's creating a lot of confusion.
It does. Let's take let's take a final call, and then we would, and go into our wrap-up discussion. So we'll take a final call. We Culture, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, caller.
Yes, sir. I find that a man or a woman who has 20 degrees in a particular subject, I don't think he's educated. He might be academically bright in one aspect of life. As far as I'm concerned, education, as Ms. Francis would tell you, is the all-round development of the individual. The good manners, the good that, the good this. In other words, you have to know how to behave, and you'll be able to fit to live and fit to live with. You should be nice, you should know when to curse, when not to curse, and so on and so on. So you fit for life. So education, the main concern of education is to fit you for life. Everything that is good. At the same time, you have to have a particular skill. That is why people like scholars and them should develop particular skill in individuals who are leaning to particular skills, so that they could have an occupation, so that they would be able to make it in life. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I've heard word nowadays. I don't know if this word is a good word. Easement, and scholar always people always it has, instead of saying there is or there are. And this is what bothers me. You hear it in all aspects of all form of education, all height. It has, instead of saying there is or there are. And I want to know if you help me, Ms. Francis. Easement, I'm hearing that recently as this sort of virus came into being. Easement, and I usually, it hurts me. This is my comment, and you all have, this is one of the best, what should I say, program you ever had in your whole life. I think that I've educated people to know what is expected of them, of us then. Because this is serious thing. I look into all those things already. Sometimes I call on calling program, and when somebody says, I'm not sure, what do you mean by that? Is either you know or you don't know, if you have to correct somebody. And maybe you say, I'll try to find out. Not I'm not too sure, and you don't give any particular answer. So you could comment, Ms. Francis. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, caller, and that was our final call for this evening. So we go into our wrap up discussion. We're gonna start with Mrs. Francis. The caller wanted you to. Before we do that, Risi, we want to take our final comments on Facebook.
Yeah.
No problem. But before I do that, I just want to give the definition of easement. When it comes to law, it is a right to cross or otherwise use someone else's land for a specified purpose. And literally, it means the state or feeling of comfort or peace. So it is a word, and it is used in context, if I may add. Now, in terms of the Facebook comments, we have quite a bit. Good night. Gloria is saying, kudos to best principal, looking good still. Men have seen over the years how teachers have to struggle. Teaching is a 24-hour job. Plus, you're sleeping and teaching. We are really torn between two worlds. The American parents were complaining about the amount of testing their children have to go through. Now we adopt it. Children graduating more than anything else. Then we have Cynthia is saying, only today I was telling someone, if you did not pass for pre-Cambridge, you could not write the final exam. Gloria Lambert, scholars, someone doing it for them. They have it easy. We're talking about the primary school with all the stuff that the children have to do. So they can get 11 plus subjects and don't know A from B. Sorry to say this. Jose is saying, I remember going to the St. Patrick's Anglican School, and two of the things that was mostly important was reading and math. The teacher will take us underneath the tree with shade in the cemetery, and we were made to read one to another for a good 2 hours. And for math, we had to show a scrap paper to show how you arrived at the answers. So I think there was a better education system to study under candlelight. Cynthia is saying we did reading and mental arithmetic under the mahogany tree in the cemetery, Holy Innocents Anglican School. Jose is saying the question is how one become the Minister of Education and how many experiences they have to have to develop a successful education system. Zavid is saying, preach it, Risi, very true. Cynthia again, because those without the degree started at the bottom of the ladder, so they don't know the job. Those with a degree have the book sense. Jose again, Risi, when you have Imani teaching without going to a teacher's college, what else to expect? I want to do scholars intake. Jose is saying, no, I can't read that here. Jose, yeah, that's it. That's it for social media, guys. Some of the things I can't read it. Sorry.
You were saying you're gonna wake up somebody who would have. All right, wonderful. Yeah. Doc, our closing discussion. Your take on some of the things that was said, the callers, and all of that.
But Godfrey, as we keep on going tonight, I thought it was a wonderful program. But also, I just feel that there are so much things we cannot touch. We did not touch.
Well, we only have 2 hours.
But you recognize that society has been failing us, and society has failed us in the past. The education system has failed society in the past, and we have not produced persons that really have grenade at heart. You look at some of the persons that come very educated, and everybody seems to want a piece of the pie without wanting to develop the broadness, the width of the pie itself, and that is troubling. And most of the persons that are actually doing that seem to be persons with degrees. So it is a kind of, while you want to educate the population, you see the mischief being made by the educated class. And then that is troubling. Something that has happened recently, and I think earlier on when I alluded to the fact that at one time there was a book program. Now we have tablet in the school. Now by itself, I believe that new technology has to be monitored. There has to be some kind of level of direction under which it should be used. Because 2 teachers, and I asked from 2 different schools, gave an example. At one day, they were told that the children should bring the tablet. They brought the tablet. And on break time, no one was in the playing field. Lunchtime, there was nobody talking to each other. Everybody was down playing games at the tablet. And I believe that we have to find a way as we go forward to make sure that this new device is used effectively and that we do not prevent our children or lessen the impact of that socialization, the games, the playing, the running in the park, the marble, well, you don't have to be marble, but any new games at all, or by that socialization. So I'm a little worried that it is given, but it is given without instructions to ensure that it enhance rather than, decrease that socialization of children playing with children. So that is a sort of worrying trend that is now happening presently in our school system, apart from several other things that is happening.
Okay. So, Mrs. Mason, your closing comments?
2 things I would like to say. I enjoyed this evening. I enjoyed being with all of you very much. But I would like the listening public to understand that we have failed our children and our young people nowadays. With all how many academic subjects they're doing and leaving school with, they lack the basic manners and respect. And that is something we have to go and try to teach our children from very small, from home, and enhance at school. Manners and respect. That takes you much further than your 20 CXC subjects. And another thing, as a principal in the secondary high school, I always used to tell my teachers, at the beginning of the academic year, our first staff meeting, and even at the end, the last staff meeting, teaching is not a job. And if you do not love people, you cannot teach. You have to be able and willing to make sacrifice. You will not get any money out of teaching. If you want money, you have to go elsewhere. But your reward in teaching is when your students meet you years after and remember you and perhaps thank you for something you did for them that you don't even remember. And 2 professions, when you are in them, you are dealing with people's lives. You make them live or you kill them. And that is anything to do with teaching and education and anything to do with medicine.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Mason Francis. Scholar?
Yes, let me echo the words of Livingston that we had a very nice discussion tonight, as we really thought that we would. It's the first time that I've really heard Miss Mason Francis articulate, except for maybe the odd time when she called about the legal ways, legal house.
the man without head.
Yeah, except for that hard time, and I can understand why Rishi holds Miss Francis in such awe and in such high regard. She the wealth and the breadth and the scope of her institutional memory, I mean, is very astounding, you know. And I must say also that although somebody early up on Facebook spoke of Miss Francis time for bed and so on, very alert, very astute, very young, and the mode of dress tonight. Oh God!
Yes, indeed.
the young girl is really rocking.
Oh yes. Yes.
I think we touched on a lot of things. Miss Mason Francis just spoke of the manners and so on, which kind of speaks of what we call in education the hidden curriculum. This is probably the most important thing that children learn in school. People believe that is the maths and the English and so on, but it's a hidden curriculum. Those things that teachers don't, it's not on the curriculum, but every day through interactions, right? Manners make it man and all of those things. And how to be a good sport, not to cheat, and so on. Even the way that school uniform is. I mean, when you think of a school uniform, for example, think of a girl's school uniform. Risi went to school. You have a white shirt. You have a pleated skirt. You have sometimes sneakers in your foot with a long socks and a tie in your neck. I mean, if you see a girl on the road or a woman on the road, you might run or you might say, bring that in my house, because you don't see people like that. This is antisocial behavior. But school is there. You have to wear these things because it is teaching you something. Just as how when police officers go and they start to trade, they put them in these little short pants and so on. But it's teaching them something. It is teaching them a kind of discipline.
To humble them.
And to humble them. That's what
big pants material yet. They reach long pants material
yet. That's what it teaches. So sometimes the rest school girls will speak about the teachers and teachers putting this on and they can put this on. But you ain't reached there yet.
That's right.
You haven't reached there yet. That's what this is teaching you, right? And then, Godfrey, I want to infuse something here. And maybe this is cause for probably another debate and another time. But Livingston spoke of the digital age and what we have now with tablets. But may I also say that as we start heading into this whole digital realm, all of this education thing in the future, a lot of the things will become, as you've seen, obsolete. Because now with this information age, what you have to go now and do tables and things multiple, when you could just juke that on something and get the answer. Any maths they give you now in school, you could juke it somewhere and Google giving you.
Google have all the answers.
Google have all the answers, right? So why you have to go now busting your brain and going and learn all this? Well, you could just juke it there. And so this is where we're going. Sadly enough, people would hardly now use what God, I believe this was given to us for purpose, so that we could use it to do all of those things that we've done in the past and that we're doing now. But this is the way that the world is heading, and more you're seeing it. I mean, a lady spoke at time, two little young girls that came for some interview, and she was talking to them about some money, and she tell them, $2 if this child have $2 or 6 children have come with $2, how much dollars they have? Big girls, you know, and they pick $2, they fold and they start to juke. They calculated. When I start to juke to get the answer, they have time to work on that. It's a lot of things, and as the trends go, boy, we may have to have a next We culture on this same thing, looking at where we go, where we're heading.
You know, I am glad you mentioned the phrase "we culture," because from the discussions we've been having, it is so clear, and I've been thinking maybe someone might ask, well, what does education have to do with we culture? But look at how the culture of our education system has changed over the years.
Yep.
Godfrey,
from the royal reader to that. To calculate $2.50.
Godfrey, are you giving your closing comments?
Yes, I am.
But so what about me?
You see how close it is?
Oh, okay.
He did it in the beginning and so shy.
I thought my apologies. So let's bring in Risi here. Actually, I was going to give you the final word, but you're making confusion for it, so take it now.
Don't try that.
Godfrey, if Risi continues to behave like that, you better take back your review.
Not me that take it back. Not my rib she have it. It's not my rib she have it. Don't forget that. Of course, who else?
You said that in conversation.
It's not ribs she have, not my ribs well intact,
Okay, I wanted to touch on something that Scholar had alluded to earlier in terms of the kind of words that we are using now, and it is using in an educational format, especially as it relates to like the vaccination and that sort of thing. You see a lot of about get vaxxed, take the jab and that kind of thing. And as big as I am, I never knew that take the jab meant injection. I had to Google that, and from watching CNN, I learned what that is, and the whole get vaxxed thing. Is that a real word? VAXXED? I don't know. But what I do know is that in marketing, there's a whole theory about, that emerging marketing tool called social media, where you try to appear as a company, you try to appear cool. So you use a lot of text language, that sort of thing. So Scholar, you would get a lot of that. But it's the responsibility of ministries that are linked, like the Ministry of Health, how they are now very closely linked to the Ministry of Education with the whole pandemic. It is their responsibility to make sure that when they communicate these messages, that they know it is not just teenagers, millennials they are speaking to, and they are speaking to people who are 18 years and over who are allowed to be vaccinated, knowing very well that they need to understand this language that they're speaking, and also that our children are listening. So they have to be responsible with that, and that I have to agree with you on. Now, I believe that there's standard English, I believe there's colloquialism, and I differentiate the both. On We Culture, we do a bit of both. We do have some green verbs happening too, but at the end of the day, it's a program about our culture, and colloquialism is our culture as well. So people ought to know the difference, and you ought to know when to use it and when not to use it. So I know that our callers would have spoken about that a bit. Now, I saw tonight that the teachers were actually having this candlelight vigil or walkthrough in Grand Anse while I was coming up like Minister 7. A whole line of teachers being led by their leader and all of that. And, it's funny that we're speaking about education tonight and we're seeing this happening there. And I am not going to sit here and pretend that, all these fights for rights and, what you're deserving of doesn't impact our education system and how our teachers would flow, on a day-to-day basis and that kind of thing. So on that note, I just want to say good night, Mrs. Mason Francis. You look lovely. I had the privilege of being at your home one day when I had just returned from Canada, and you showed me your album, and we young people had nothing on you, and we still have nothing on you. And I just wish that, I have the privilege of growing old enough to age as fine as you are. Thank you for being here with us this evening.
Yes, indeed. Well, let me join Risi and thank you very much, Mrs. Francis Mason, for being here with us. It's such a pleasure. As I said, the requests were there, and I think we chose the perfect time to bring you on, and I'm really happy. And I think tonight's program, the comments that we're seeing on our WhatsApp platform, on Facebook platform, speak for themselves. So thank you very much, for taking the time to be here with us, and also for following the program, for all these months and contributing, because we know when you contribute, someone says Mrs. Mason still has that unique voice, so the voice can't lose. The voice cannot lose. Once you hear the voice, So thank you again, guys. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. It's already 20 minutes past 10, and I know Doc had to get up before Budwife Week, so thank you guys, and enjoy the rest of the weekend. Until next week, take good care.
Hi guys.
Thank you, Mrs. Mason. All the best.
Thank you.
That's our program this evening, folks. We thank you so very much for all your contribution. It was indeed a pleasure. Of course, you can join us next Friday for another edition of We Culture.
Was there to help, and Lukashenko said that, well, that's what you do.
A little more calypso, forget the funk and the disco.